Hi, and welcome back to the Raminfard School of Arts. As you can see, things are a little different. Since the last time that I posted a video, we have actually relocated our studio. We used to be located in Los Angeles, and now we have located to a place called Agoura Hills, which is about 40 minutes out from our previous location. We're very excited about our new studio, and you'll see some of it in this video. But I wanted to make an attempt at helping people understand how to draw the head utilizing the Asaro head. It's one of the more popular videos here on the channel, and I think one of the things that I really wanted to indicate in this video and explain is a little bit more nuanced way of drawing that head. Also, we're shooting this for the first time in 4K. So I think it's going to be much higher quality, and you'll be able to see the lines a little clearer, which has been an issue for some of the people on the YouTube channel who have difficulty seeing those lines. It's drawing the head is very challenging, and I think one of the best ways for us to really understand it is to really look at the underlying structure behind it. It's not about the eyes or the nostrils or the lips or any of the detail. Although it's very tempting to do that first, it's really about the underlying structure, the eye socket, where the cheekbone lands with the other cheekbone, how things align down the middle of the face. It's really that core understanding of the planes, the shape of the planes, the size of them, and where they belong on the head. So that's why I decided to make this video. And I think a lot of you will really enjoy it. I've actually invited my son to come in and draw the head for you guys, just so that you can see his take on it. He's 7.5, and hopefully you'll enjoy the video. I always appreciate a like, always appreciate a share, and any comments or questions that you might have, please leave them down below, and I'll definitely try and get to them. Looking forward to seeing your comments, and I'm excited to show you this video.
Hi.
Hi, Oren.
Hi.
Tell us about yourself.
I'm a boring kid.
You're a boring kid?
Just kidding, I'm an amazing kid.
Yes, you are.
And I'm gonna learn how to draw today with my dad.
Yes, that's right. I have a question for you. My question is do you enjoy drawing?
Sometimes.
Sometimes?
It depends.
It depends, huh? Okay, well, I'm gonna have you draw the head, and we're gonna see how you do, okay?
You mean this head?
Yes.
The one right there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one. You excited?
Yeah.
You look like you can't wait. All right, son, I love you. Friends, I want to welcome you back to our channel. I'm sorry that I've been gone for such a long time. You know, it took me a while for us to move from one location to another. We moved the studio, the school, and everything that came with it. So as my son is drawing this, I'm going to explain to you what we're doing in this video, which is drawing the Asaro head. You can see that my son's really struggling with it, but he's doing a pretty good job given the fact that he's 7.5 years old. Drawing the planes of the head is very challenging. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through for the second time the necessary steps to take to draw the Asaro head. Now, in that very first video that I posted, which was a number of years ago, I've improved my technique on teaching this. And as you can see, our students are utilizing this technique, as well as other techniques involved in drawing and painting. I hope you enjoyed this brief tour of our studio, and I'm excited to show you the process of drawing the Asaro head from step 1. Let's start with the materials that I'm using. First off, I'm starting off with a rough newsprint, and I'm going to be using this 9B Prismacolor pencil, which will be used solely for my shadows. The majority of my drawing is actually going to be done with this 2B pencil, which is made by Stedler, which is a company I really admire, and they make excellent product. The next thing I'm going to use is an eraser, and this is known as a kneaded eraser. So a very standard thing to use when you're using any kind of medium on a rough newsprint. So I'm going to start off with a circle, and I think that's the key thing. It's the largest shape that I can find. And I've mentioned this before about drawing. All drawing is really shape management. All drawing, all painting, even sculpture, it's just simply shape management. And if you can manage your shapes well, in terms of how light and dark they are, in terms of the edges, in terms of its color and its size and its placement, then pretty much you've conquered drawing and painting. Much easier said than done, but you really want to make the key focus getting good, clean shapes. I think that's the most important thing. So having measured that ball and making sure that it is even from all sides, I'm now going to basically put in a cross which divides the ball into 4 equal parts. Then I'm going to draw this square that actually overlaps, right? And I'm just making sure that it just slightly slices off just the sides, just a little bit. And the idea behind that, you'll see what ends up happening, is that it gives me nice clean proportions, especially utilizing the rule of thirds. Now, the Asaro head doesn't exactly fit the rule of thirds, but you can pretty much force it, and that's what I'm going to do here, just for the sake of simplicity and for the sake of teaching. Having gotten my box shape out, I'm now going to add in 2 lines that start where the circle and the square meet, going down into the chin. And the chin is basically broken up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. So it's 2 lines coming down, 2 lines going inward, and 1 line that actually creates the chin. And then I'm going to clean this up. So I'm slowly cleaning it up, essentially just getting the basic shape of the head. Now, I mentioned this before in my previous video, and I can't stress this enough. You always draw the head before you draw the features of the face. Now, the actual features are not included in the Asaro head, but the socket, the placement of the nose, and to some degree the details of the mouth are all there. So we want to make sure that we have a good underlying structure underneath. The way that you want to work is from your big shapes into your small shapes. So you'll notice that now I'm erasing out any of the lines that I'm not going to need moving forward. Too many lines on your drawing are definitely going to confuse you. Now, the disadvantage of this is that if you get a wrong proportion and you realize that late in the game, it's very hard to go back because you've already erased those lines and you can't figure out where your mistake was. So it's really, really important to spend a lot of time getting your measurements just right. That's why I spent so much time on that earlier part, which I actually sped up in this video just for time's sake. But essentially, I really focused on those initial shapes, and I made sure that my placement of the nose, the brow line, and the eyebrow line work right. And what that is known as the rule of thirds, and it's from the bottom of the chin going up to the bottom of the nose, from the bottom of the nose going up to the brow, and from the brow up to the forehead, basically where the hairline is. So I made sure that all of that measured out well. It measured out into thirds. And since that worked out for me, then I felt comfortable erasing everything that I wanted to erase. Having done that, I'm now going to add the eye line, which really lands about halfway through the head. So I'm going to take a quick little measurement and see that actually lines up approximately halfway through. Now, it may look a little different in the photo, but that's because the photo itself is skewed. Generally speaking, the eye line lands right in the middle of the head. And I'm actually bringing down those lines that attach the brow into the eye. Then I curve through to create that center bridge between each brow, and then 2 lines going up to indicate the front plane, quarter plane, and side plane of the head. So you'll notice I didn't even define the eye sockets. I just basically create a unified form that indicates where the eye line is and the brows are. And it's really the nose that's going to divide that space. Now, how do I know where to place the nose? That again is thirds between the corner of the head. It's going to really break down into three equal parts, where you'll have 1 eye on the left, 1 eye on the right, and about 1 eye distance between. So that's how I'm getting that measurement. I also look to make sure that I'm getting the right angle. The nose is shorter than you think. I cannot express this enough. Everybody draws the nose way too long. It's much shorter than you think, but as soon as you connect the lines coming down from the brow into the nose, you'll suddenly see that that actually fits properly. Now, I made a mistake. I put my break line of the nose just a little too low up top where the bridge of the brow is, and I basically will erase that out. So I'm going to clean that up. And now I'm going to refine the shapes that land around the cheekbones. So I bring down those lines as I see them. And I think it's a really important line that I put down that kind of indicates where the cheekbones pull in. I'm not quite sure about that angle because I just kind of threw it in there without measuring. So I'm probably going to have to adjust that. But at least it's a good placeholder and gives me kind of a sense of where things go. Do not be afraid to put down lines that may not necessarily be perfect. You don't need to kill yourself over this. You're going to fix them as you move forward, because just like puzzle pieces, this all has to fit together. So it's not snapping into place, then clearly there's something wrong, and then you develop your troubleshooting skills. I'll talk about that in another video, but the more you practice, the better your editing skills become. So what you just saw with the mouth was I broke that down into thirds. The first line being the chin, the second line being an even divide between the chin and the mouth, which is the split of the mouth. And all of that will actually get adjusted as I draw, but it's a good rule of thumb. Then from the nose coming down, I draw two lines starting from the top line of the bottom plane of the nose, and then I create that part underneath, which I believe is called the philtrum. Don't quote me on that. I sometimes get my anatomy wrong, but that is that space right between the nose and the lip. I'm looking to get my corners in, and by the way, I did put in my ears without talking about them. Ears really should not be something that you're killing yourself for accuracy. You just want to get a rough concept of those ears. Once I get the lip in, that top lip, now I can place my bottom lip. And those two lines that extend really give me a good sense of where to make my change in plane, because the two lines in between, basically what they represent is the front plane of the mouth. Then there's the quarter plane outside of those two V-line shapes, and then it kind of rolls into the side plane. So the mouth actually sits on all three planes of the face, and because of that, it becomes pretty challenging. I think that the Isaro head is extremely over-exaggerated when it comes to everything that happens under the lip. I understand why they're doing that. They want to make clear that that part becomes angular. It's actually much, much softer, but this particular model, known as the memorized head, is pretty, I would say, extreme in its angles. You never want to draw the human head actually this hard, but you do want to know exactly where those planes are. So I still see a great deal of value in drawing this. At this point, I think I have most of my shapes drawn correctly. I'm going to continue to edit as I shade in. So I'm never stop actually drawing and refining my shapes, but I'm actually utilizing value to understand my shapes a little better. And the first thing I do whenever I add value, whenever I'm actually shading, is I try to separate where there's light and where there's dark. That's really my only concern. So I start with a relatively light color. I'm using my 2B pencil and I'm keeping it really light, not too heavy, because right now I'm just trying to figure out where the light hits and where the shadows are. This is called grouping, and essentially you're grouping together all of your shadows and then grouping together all of your lights. So the idea is that once you've identified each of the planes and whether they're landing in light or in shadow, you can pretty much go over the entire part of the head as one huge solid shadow, because that's essentially what it is. I'm dealing with it on an individual basis just because I want to pick and choose and make sure that I get a clear understanding of where that light and dark is. But you can group them all together as one solid form. So now is a good time for me to actually remove some of these lines. And the idea is that because there's light hitting this area, you actually want, you don't want too heavy a line to compete with the value. So you always want to try and get your line quality at the same level as your value. So having done that and removed those lines, I'm now going to add in two new tools. The first is going to be a Factus eraser, which is made by the General Pencil Company. It's a great eraser. And I'm using that to help get in between those lines and really start to kind of sharpen up the drawing. And the other thing that I'm going to add is this white colored pencil that's made by Prisma, and it's fantastic. So the only problem with working with the white color Prisma is that it's very difficult to erase. So you want to make sure that you're getting it in the right place if you're going to do this on newsprint. So in putting in my values, this can be really tricky. It's very easy to turn this whole thing into something way more complicated than it needs to be. But most artists will agree that you want to stick to about 5 or 6 values, not more than that. You can go as far as 10 values, 20 values, 100 values if you want, but not until you master at least just some basic categories. So the way I think of it is you've got your lights, your mediums, and your darks. And I try to kind of focus on those categories first. And what I did first, if you remember, I started off with the paper color as my lights. Then I added shading to indicate where there's shadow. And now I'm actually going to go into those shadow areas and start to darken. And this is where I get my darks, my medium darks and my deep darks. So I'm going to have basically 2 values for my darks, 2 values for my midtones, which are going to be kind of what lands in between my darks and my middle. And then the paper color and white. That's really the colors that I'm looking to get in here. When I say colors, what I actually mean is values, but color and value are essentially the same thing. We're just separating them in terms of ideas, but there's no such thing as putting down color without value. So if I call it color, in this case, it's just simply the color of the pencil. So in the last few minutes of this video, I'm just going to let you guys watch as I finalize the drawing. And when I say that, this is really just a sketch. This is nowhere near a complete drawing. But these are the kinds of sketches that I highly recommend artists to do in order to improve their portrait skills. I want to thank you guys for watching this video. I would really appreciate any of your feedback or questions, and it would mean the world to us if you could like, subscribe, and share this video with friends and family. Thanks again for watching. I'm really glad that I was able to make this video for you guys, and I intend to continue to try and deliver the best available content that I can, given the limited time and resources that I have. But my goal and ambition is to give away some of the most important knowledge that I've collected over the last 30 years of drawing and painting, so that people around the world can benefit from it. Thank you.